Let's go right into the Fitz question and answer portion.
Was it you who taught Austin Hooper that stiff arm? Did you see that play?
I heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it was an 85 or 88-yard touchdown, but there wasn't anybody around within like 20 yards of him when he caught the ball. But there's one guy left, and he comes up and just stiff arms the guy. The guy just like has no shot. No. Anyway,
Awesome.
my compliments to whoever gave him the stiff.
Yeah, mine too.
How confident are you in your defensive line at this point, Coach? And the reason I asked that, I mean, you had something like 9 plays by my count in your base defense. And the rest was either a nickel or some variation of a nickel with outside linebackers in down line position.
But that's what we've always done. We've done that since 2007. That hasn't changed. Our defense, when we play teams that are more 3 receiver sets, Chase Thomas played defensive end, who's an outside linebacker. All of our guys for years. So that's not it. The issue in the past game was our front 7 play in total. Combination of USC playing extremely well and us making some mistakes and them taking advantage of those mistakes, whether it's by alignment or assignment. So, it's not the individuals in their jobs necessarily. It's we didn't play extremely well, and they did.
Dave, you said it takes about 3 games to get a feel for your team. You beat up on Rice. You said last week USC probably just played really well. Like, it's probably the best they've ever played against you. So what is the feel of this team as you go down to San Diego?
I'm still getting there. Because part of my reason for always saying that is you kind of got to get punched in the gut sometimes before you really know what you have, because you see how the whole team responds. You see how individuals respond. You see how groups respond, groups of linebackers, defensive linemen, offensive linemen, tight ends, etc. And then you see how we respond as a team. We challenge them, of course, as coaches, and we see who responds. Thus far, it's been very good. We've got a veteran team that's won a lot of games and bowl games and lost a few and knows how to handle it. We know it's one game. We lost one game. We're sitting here at 1-1, 0-1 in the conference, with a lot of football to be played. We are still in that mode of competing. Guys are competing for starting jobs. Guys are competing for playing time. And that's what practice is. That's what practice should be. So it was a rough game last week. The team that won the game deserved to win the game. And now we got to bounce back. We got to continue to look at the positives from that game as well, which there were. Some, both collectively and individually, in all 3 phases. But huge improvement needs to happen between this past week and the next game we play.
San Diego's no cupcake either. They're playing well.
No, they're going to run right at us. They're going to be physical. They're going to play hard. They're going to play fast. They're a very aggressive team on both sides of the ball. And, we got to make sure that we're the same.
Do you recall a team that mirrors you guys offensively as much as these guys seem to with their ground attack?
Probably Wisconsin and Michigan State, and we played those 2 teams. The physical approaches, downhill running, with an outstanding runner. I was just finishing watching film before I came down here. He breaks a lot of tackles. He is north and south, and when you give him a crease, he's got the speed to take it the distance.
Given the fact they're so strong running the ball, will you use? I'm not asking you for a game plan, but you're in your nickel defense when you do getting back to the outside linebackers who are in down positions. They're going up against guys who are outweigh them by 60 pounds. At least that was the case against SC. I don't know how big the tackles are for San Diego State, but isn't that a problem when you've got guys getting outweighed? And these are in running situations. You were using your nickel in like obvious running downs.
It's obvious to you when the other team's going to
Well,
run
it
the
was
ball.
3rd and 1.
Could you
on
communicate that to
goal-
me?
Goal line?
Can you
Goal
communicate that to
line? There
me?
were 2 plays on the goal line, you used your nickel?
Tom, we can go through a football education at some point
No,
if you want to.
but David, you only used 2 defensive
Does anybody
linemen.
else want to answer any questions, or is it just me?
Tom is a
We
well-
can have this conversation anytime.
All right.
So
All right.
to go through the last 11 years of us being here. No. But I'm serious here. I'm serious. They put 3 receivers on the field. 90% of college football, if not 95% of college football, you go into a nickel defense. That hasn't changed in a long time. Now, what you're talking about, what you're doing right now, which I understand, and you guys have jobs to do, etc. But to take the result and then go back and say, okay, you guys are doing something wrong, instead of looking at our history here, which has been pretty good. We ran into a very, very good football team that executed at a very, very high level. That doesn't mean everything that we've done over the past how many years has been wrong. They beat us. And we will make some adjustments, we'll grow from it. But there's no difference between our approach to the game, this game, as we have for the last few years, and our approach to the game coming up.
But when you have a team like USC that can run the ball well, just as they can run the ball as well as they can pass, they get 300-something yards rushing. When you're only playing 2 defensive linemen basically the whole game, doesn't that put you at a disadvantage against a team that can run the ball like that?
For that game right now, I'll say yes.
Well, but I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just saying, what if
No,
do you,
no.
do you
Yes, you are.
anticipate? No, I'm
It's
not.
okay.
I am not. I'm
That's-
trying to. I'm
that's what
trying
you're
to
doing.
answer the
It's okay.
question. I don't understand. I mean, is
You
it?
don't have to understand, it's okay.
Well, let me put it a different way. Are your outside linebackers that much better than your defensive linemen at this point? You feel a lot more comfortable.
There are 2 different positions. There are 2
But
different, there are 2 different worlds. There's a nickel world, and then there's a base world. And there are 2 different worlds.
Okay.
I think I can completely derail the conversation if you'd like to do that.
It's been derailed, so let's just keep going.
I'm Chuck Davies, I'm Santa Rosa. I knew your dad a little bit. I used to interview him here. He was a pretty intense guy.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, tough, yeah.
absolutely.
You guys seem like you have different personalities. I'm sure it's been remarked on as you've grown up. Have you always been sort of placid like that? Because he was.
I don't know if placid's a compliment or not, but
Fill in your own way, that'd be fine.
It's a rough crowd.
yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting it this way.
Yeah, right.
It's okay. To answer your question, yes, I've kind of always been this way. Some people have heard me remark before, my sister used to refer to me as the old man, when I was younger. I've just always been this way. I don't do the emotional highs and lows. I'm very, try to be very thoughtful and calculating and meticulous to a certain degree. So yeah, I've kind of always been this way, and I'm different than, my parents, and my brother and sister and I are all 3 different personalities. But yes, I've been this way for a long time.
What's the health situation of the team with A.T. Hall and other guys?
AT feels great. He played in the game, played pretty well. He feels fine. Terrence Alexander's still the one that is probably still down for this game. Although I believe he may be ready to start working out again, so his availability in the next few weeks may change. But as far as those guys that were injured, Mike Tyler came out of the game fine, feels great. I think we're pretty healthy.
Harrison Phillips had 11 tackles. I was wondering if anybody else stood out for you on the game film, either on offense or defense.
Our corner play was outstanding. The quarterback made some plays that maybe he may be the only guy in college football that can make some of those throws. I thought our corner play was outstanding. I think Justin Reed played at a high level, made some really impressive plays, and then had some tough downs against a very, very good receiver in the slot. Offensively, there were times up front we played extremely well. There were times up front that we did not. Bryce Lowe is playing at a very high level right now. I think our combination of tight ends and receivers played well when the opportunities presented themselves.
those two interceptions were really spectacular plays, both of them. And I was curious about San Diego State because they have a ton of interceptions traditionally too, and I think they're second in the country in takeaways since 2015, something like that. What is it that they do that gets them to all these takeaways?
It's a very unique structured defense to where they essentially have 3 safety bodies, 2 corners, and there's late rotation. There's a lot of different types of blitzes. So they've been able to attack people's protections, and quarterbacks under duress make inaccurate throws. And we were marked for a team that blitzes so much. There are very, very few times where a guy is wide open. So now you've got good coverage combined with an attacking style of defense up front, and you can force the quarterback to make some throws that are thrown into danger, and they do a really good job of receiving the ball. Their DBs have good ball skills.
Coach, right after the game at USC, you mentioned that pass protection needed to be better. I was wondering how you would grade that across the board, having been able to watch it more, and going into this week, 18th every seems a little up in the air who starts. I was wondering your thoughts on that as well.
Well, I think we're going to look at quite a few things up front. We've got a lot of experience there, but at the same time, we've got some youth. We've got some ability. So I think we're going to look at a couple different combinations and see how that bears out at the end of the week.
Dave, you guys have traveled, this is an Alan George stat, over 15,000 miles in 3 games here, and haven't had a home game. Is that kind of schedule been tough on, maybe on the field or not?
It hasn't. It hasn't. Our guys are very resilient. I think we had a really good plan going into Australia, which was the key, because it wasn't just getting ready for the game. It was to come back into recovery. I've talked to a lot of people about the trip, which I would recommend to anyone. But I would say, especially if you're not in school, like being a quarter school, so we're able to come back and give our guys plenty of rest and slowly get them back into a West Coast time zone rhythm before we play another game. So I think that's been really good for us. Practice has been outstanding. Effort and the work that the guys have done has been really good. You go back and you watch the 3 phases of our game against USC, which I've done multiple times. The one thing that you don't see is a lack of effort. You see energy, you see passion, you see guys flying around. We didn't do our jobs very well on certain plays, but we don't look like a tired team. We haven't acted like a tired team. So I think we've had a really good plan for our guys, and our guys have executed the plan very well, prioritizing their sleep, prioritizing their nutrition. So yeah, it was daunting when we first looked at it, but I think we took some very common sense steps to prepare our guys to go out there and be able to perform.
After the Rice game, you complimented Chris for several plays where he did a great job of buying time while still in the pocket. And I was wondering how you would grade that against USC.
I think Keller played very well. I think he was under duress too often. I think we had 4 passes deflected. But you look at his decision making, you look at his pocket presence. I mean, he throws 2 great throws with guys in his face as he's getting hit. Very impressive. Deep ball to JJ was outstanding. Late in the game, you saw him pull the ball on a read play and make a safety miss in space. It wasn't until you see something like that can you really say that he's completely healthy and can cut. That was his right leg that he cut off of to cut back to the outside. So athletically, I think he feels great, and he's got the ability to escape the pocket as well as move within the pocket.
How much time did you get to spend with Christian and Solomon on Sunday?
Very brief. Before the game, probably saw Solomon for about 3 or 4 minutes. Saw Christian for probably about the same. Didn't want to disrupt their pregame routine. These are 2 intense competitors, but it was really good to see him. and give them hugs and wish them well, and then watch the beginning of the game, and then came back to work.
Did Solomon get a chance to tackle Christian in
He
this
did.
game?
Yes.
Did
There
he?
was one opportunity, and it wasn't square, it wasn't right on. He took a swipe at Christian's legs and couldn't quite get him. So I don't think Solomon would count that as a broken tackle. Christian may count that as a broken tackle, because make no mistake, they're keeping score.
I'm proud of you. It's like a dad watching his kids go to the next level when you see your former players here go on to the pros. Must make you feel pretty proud.
It's always emotional for me, just because, you know, when they come in as freshmen, you don't know what they're going to do here, you don't know what they're going to do afterwards, and there's a huge sense of pride in watching them mature as football players, but they mature as people, and you know, they're doing what they love and they're passionate about it and they're good at it. So yeah, it's just it just makes you feel good that we were able to be part of their journey, and however big or small influences we've had on them to help them get to where they are, and watching them flourish.
Do you watch NFL games a lot? In person or on TV?
Rarely in person. That was a rare opportunity that I just couldn't pass up, but it's been a few years since I've been to an NFL game during the season. Postseason, I've gone to a couple, but during the season, it's rare. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity for a game in the Bay Area with 2 top 10 picks, and their families were there, and you know, it was a really good day. I couldn't pass it up. But TV wise, I typically will do one or two things. I'll either record the games. My DVR gets full during the season, but I record the games, and then on the internet you can find that play-by-play. So for a lot of our guys, even guys that haven't been here for 7 or 8 years that are in the NFL, I'll still go back through late at night when I go home, and I'll fast forward and watch certain plays. If Richard got a pass deflection or interception, I'll watch that. If Doug Baldwin made a big play, I'll watch that. If Ryan Hewitt caught a ball and, you know, broke a tackle, I'll go see that. You know, so I still like to, and I'll typically text those guys. I think it's important for me to let them know that I still care about them, that I still watch them. It's because it's not just like, hey, do what you do here and then get out of here. You know, they're still part of this Stanford family.
Will your game this week be among those that will have the shortened halftime, the shortened timeouts, and all the rest of the stuff that they're trying to do to shorten the game? Is that all the non-conference games? I think are in that, aren't they?
The conference games for sure. For what we did at halftime and how we're trying to speed it up. That's a good question. This is a non-conference game on the road, so I'll have that information before the end of the week.
Just in general, how do you feel about those changes that they made?
I'm okay with it. To me, the biggest change that we can do is what we've talked about doing in the conference, and they've done in other sports, and we see it done all the time in soccer, is do advertisements during play, or what, even if it's during like a short timeout, like doing advertisements there, because you know, all this talk about long games, and everybody's talking about the style of play and too much passing and too much scoring and et cetera, the hurry up offenses. The biggest change is the commercial breaks. That's why these games have gotten longer. There are more and more commercial breaks. There are more than there were 7 or 8 years ago. So if we can augment those commercial breaks and still give the advertisers their time, but without taking a 3-minute commercial break every 5 minutes. I mean, the first quarters now, they take half an hour, 45 minutes. So that's the biggest thing to me. And I know there have been a lot of things proposed, and you know, hopefully they can do more of that, because honestly, it interrupts the flow of the game. You know, you get one possession. If you don't score, you punt, and then it's a timeout, and then you know, the other team, if they go 3 and out, then you take another timeout. So here we've had 2 possessions, and it's 25 minutes into the game.
You're not implying that money is a factor in this, are you?
Slight factor, yes.
You don't seem like your name comes up as an NFL guy anymore. You think people have gotten the message from you that you're not going to do it?
I hope so.
Because you're not.
I have absolutely no plan and haven't had a plan, and I think I've been pretty clear on that. So hopefully people have gotten the idea.
And I know you've been asked a million times, were you interviewed for the 49er job?
No.
Because you told me you're not interested?
I have not spoken to anybody in the NFL on any job since I left the NFL.
Could you be more definitive than that?
I wish I could. If I was bleeding earlier, I would sign it in blood if I could. But,
I just thought with John Lynch,
yeah, absolutely not.
Thanks.
Mhm.
What was the mood of the team coming back from the plane after the USC game?
It was about what it should have been, which was no one was in a great mood, but we also weren't panicked. We played against a very good football team, and we didn't play our best. And that was the challenge for us for this season, is can we play our best every game day? And there's an opportunity now where we let one slip away. We went toe for toe with them for a quarter and a half, and they scored a touchdown, and we kicked a field goal, and they scored another touchdown. And then it took us a while to score again. A team like that, you can't let them get too far ahead.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside made a few great plays in this game. I wonder if how you would describe his development at this point.
Oh, I think he's very, very good. I think he's only getting better. We have to continue to give him those opportunities because he's done nothing but make plays. You look at the second half of last year, what he did against Cal, what he did against Oregon, even early in the year what he did against UCLA. He's a big, fast receiver that makes tough catches. And, we gave him a few opportunities this game. Like I said, I think our receiving core is very exciting right now. We have to be able to protect. We have to be able to give them opportunities to make plays because these guys can make plays.
He does have great hands and great leaping ability, but the other thing, it seems he really reacts well to the ball.
Yeah.
Better than a lot of other guys.
This was a dominating basketball player when he was in high school. Had scholarship offers, and both of his parents were professional basketball players at some point in their lives. And he's got all those rebounding skills that you would expect for a guy who was an outstanding high school basketball player. So yeah, he's made a lot of plays for us, and we missed him that first game, so this was kind of his first real action, which was great. Made some plays late in the game, but we will continue to give him opportunities.
David, Quentin Meeks will be going up against his brother in this game, which is
Elijah.
which is pretty rare these days in Power 5 football. Can you talk about that matchup? Will they go against each other much, or probably not?
Well, the recruiting process, talking about Elijah Holder and his brother, and his
Elijah.
going through this process with their mother, and they'd always been on the same teams, of course, but in talking to Elijah, they had never really gone against each other. They wouldn't even do it in practice. So this will be interesting to see when and if it does play. I think it's very, very. I tried to ask Elijah about it, and it's hard for him to truly express how he feels about it because he's conflicted. They have that connection that twins have. That they know each other so well, and I don't know if he's looking forward to it or not. I don't know if he knows if he's looking forward to it or not. But if it happens, he's going to be a competitor. He's going to compete, and I know there's going to be one conflicted lady in the stands.
Do you teach that tip drill for that interception that he made?
I wish I could. I'd give him all the ability to do that, but that's what we missed from Elijah last year when he missed so many games. He's got such a great feel for quarterbacks and such a great feel for route combinations to be able to sit close enough to the lower route, but still be able to explode and accelerate to the deeper route, and to have long arms and leaping ability and ball skills. It was an impressive play.
This is not the position that normally kind of gets highlighted, but I wonder, Jake Bailey, your punter, his development, he's become someone who might be the best punter in the conference and is probably in consideration for beyond that.
We saw it early on, when we first started watching his film at high school, his junior year, and then came to camp, our kicking camp, with Coach Alomar, and really put on a show. He put on a show as a field goal kicker, as a kickoff specialist, and as a punter. It was impressive. Has the ability to do all three. We thought it was best to get him focused, in particular, having Conrad last year and recruiting Jet, who we think has a chance to be outstanding also. So for Jake to be able to focus on the long lever, punt and kickoff, he's got a chance to dictate the field position for the entire game. His ability to punt the ball, forget about inside the 20, inside the 10, is as good as I've been around in a long time. And I think it was underplayed last year a little bit. There are guys around the nation that may have higher averages, but that ability, when you're punting from your own 45 and that other team starts inside the 10 pretty consistently, I think that's outstanding. So he's a weapon for us. We talk a lot about the what football is, which is, yes, it's about scoring points, but it's also about the field and dictating the field. And he's a guy that does that on kickoffs, and he's a guy that does that on punts.
Bailey has such a strong leg. I was wondering if you ever had like a 55-yard field goal to make at the end of a half or something, would you have Bailey do it, or would Toner be does he have that kind of range too?
We believe Jet has that as well. We wouldn't put it on him unless it was a game winner or the last play of a half. But we've seen Jet kick it well over 50 also. Well over 50.
Your conference has so many good quarterbacks, and always has good quarterbacks. Does it change how you recruit, in the sense that maybe if you're in a different conference, you could recruit quarterbacks who could run for us? These guys have to cover.
Well, I think that's been, something that we've thought about over the last years, which if you look at our secondary right now, it was constructed purposefully. Length, athleticism, ball skills. You got to have guys like Justin Reed and Quentin Meeks and Elijah Holder. You look at our last two recruiting classes as well. You see speed, you see length and athleticism. Recruiting Obi last year was kind of right in that mold. You want guys that are competitive and long and athletic, because in this conference, that ball's going to fly around.
Thanks, Dave.
We good?
Thanks,
Thanks,
Coach.
Coach.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.